Hey there, welcome to our last lesson. Finally, our last lesson for Unit 4. This is such an incredibly long unit. So welcome to your last lesson for it. Today we are going to wrap up the Jackson administration, and then I'll talk to you about what you got to do after. So let's go ahead and get through it so that we can finish these notes up, which will also allow you to finish up that interactive notebook, making sure that you get it turned in, because don't forget, it is a quiz grade. So today's agenda, we're going to finish up the notes, turn in your interactive notebook. You have an ed puzzle to do on the Trail of Tears, which is not very long. And then you have an analysis of a political cartoon. So we'll talk more about that in just a few minutes. This is the interactive notebook page that you need to have open. We already did everything from here and up last week. We are now going to fill in just these 3 boxes, and then we will be done. So remember, we were talking about what decisions it was that Andrew Jackson made during his presidency and what some of the effects of those decisions were. So we talked last week about the tariff that was put into place, how that led to the nullification crisis, and states like South Carolina being like, no, we're not going to pay the tariff. We don't think it's fair. And then that leading to him needing to use force, and then him getting rid of the second bank of the United States. So today we're going to talk about 3 more things that really show that Andrew Jackson's not really the best president. He may be on the $20 bill, and he may be revered as the first common man president that we had, but some of his decisions just really weren't that great, at least in my opinion. The first thing we want to talk about is the Panic of 1837. So Jackson, during his presidency, is going to go through an economic depression. This happens because of the overprinting of money, which causes inflation, so causes prices to go up, and then people can't afford things. Remember, things aren't going to be going as smoothly because the Bank of the United States was like shut down and then dispersed into a whole bunch of other banks because Andrew Jackson was so paranoid about it. And so the money aspect of things just doesn't go well during his presidency. So we overprint money, costs go up. People are overbuying real estate and land, thinking that the costs of that are going to go up. We call this land speculation, and it doesn't work out that way. And so all of these things coupled together just lead to the fact that in 1837, we had an economic depression to go through. There's nothing really big that you need to know specifically, except for the fact that this happened during his presidency. The next thing that we want to talk about is a decision made by Andrew Jackson that, again, isn't that great. And that was the use of what is referred to as the spoils system, because basically he decided to spoil a bunch of his friends and hire individuals to work for the government if they were people that were loyal to him. Instead of hiring people based on merit and based on the fact that they understand these certain aspects about the government and have this expertise, he was like, oh, well, you helped me to get elected. I'm going to give you this job. And you're my friend and always have been, so I'm going to give you this job. You can obviously tell that's not the good way to be able to get people into positions of power in the government, because if they don't know what they're doing, it's going to make the government run in a very rough manner and not run smoothly at all. So the spoil system is going to be something that he, again, is going to be heavily criticized for. The last thing, which is really the worst of them all, is that Andrew Jackson is the president that is going to be responsible for the Trail of Tears happening, essentially. Andrew Jackson was a racist. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, especially racist against Native Americans. Remember, if you're a racist, it doesn't always have to be against, African Americans in this country, although we see a lot of that. But he specifically has a pretty deep hatred for Native Americans. And essentially, we wanted to be able to move some Native Americans out of the way so that white Americans could move into those areas and take over that land and be successful in those areas. And so basically there was an act that was passed called the Indian Removal Act. And the Indian Removal Act is going to say that the Indians needed to be forcefully removed from where they were living and put somewhere else. This gets challenged, and it goes all the way to the Supreme Court in the case of Worcester versus Georgia. When it goes to the Supreme Court says, no, this is unconstitutional. You cannot force these people to move. They have the right to be able to live on their land. So they make that decision. So you think, okay, that's done. Supreme Court said they can't move, so they're not going to move. Here's the thing. Andrew Jackson didn't care. He was like, listen, you can say that all you want, but I'm the one who enforces the law. All you do is interpret it. You're just the court. So I'm not going to listen to you. And if I don't listen to you, there's not really going to be any repercussions. There's nothing you as the court system can do to me. So I'm just going to move all these people anyway, regardless of what you say. So in a very unconstitutional manner, he forces these people to eventually be moved. And when they do, you're going to see in the Ed puzzle. So I'm not going to get into it too much here, but we're talking about hundreds, thousands of people dying and being forced to march across the United States to be relocated over to the Oklahoma area. So it happens like in the winter, and a quarter of those 18,000 Indians that are forced to move die as a result of this. It is a horrific event and stain in US history. So you'll learn more about that in your Ed puzzle. So make sure you've got this stuff in your interactive notebook. And then what you're going to do is go back to your assignment, and you have two tasks. The first is the Trail of Tears Ed puzzle. It is not a very long video. Just watch it, answer your questions, and then submit. And then the second one is going to be your King Andrew I analysis. So here you can see a political cartoon. I'm going to tell you right now, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, wink, wink. You will see this cartoon again in your future. So this is a political cartoon that is one of the most famous political cartoons that is called King Andrew I. Now, obviously, we don't like the idea of kings in the United States. We've been talking about that for a long time throughout this course, but here you can see that they've dressed up Andrew Jackson as a king. You need to go through and pay attention to the different things that you see in this cartoon. So pay attention to what you see around the edges, pay attention to what he's holding in his hand, pay attention to what he is standing on, right? Internal improvements is what that says here. The US Bank, it's in tatters on the ground. The US Constitution in tatters on the ground. The judiciary of the United States basically just thrown onto the ground. So pay attention to those little things that you're seeing here. And then I need you to read this information about it. This just gives a more in-depth description to explain what you're seeing in the picture. And then you're just going to answer these two questions for me. Put them in the little response here. It's in a discussion board format. So you're going to put your response here, and then that's it. Once you're done with that, work on anything that you might have missing, or go and prepare for your test. Tomorrow we're going to do review. And then after that, we will spend the rest of, or we'll go back and take the test the next day, and we will start Unit 5 later this week. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, y'all.